They're the nice guys, and the guys who are suddenly thrown into this fantasy world where they've got the ultimate challenge ahead of themselves. Can they rescue a princess? Can they save the world? And that's all of it.
You know, guys, back in the day, there was a lot of these reports regarding Nintendo, getting to know the company. They always talked about the gameplay consolers, you know. They always had this guy on, which, you know, to us, wasn't a cool cat at all. As a matter of fact, we didn't like this guy because whenever people thought about video games, right, especially back in the 80s, they always thought about like super nerds. They didn't think about any cool guys and any guys getting after it. And that's why you had to keep, sometimes as you got older, you would keep your video game playing on the down low. It's always on the down low because that was the perception out there. You know, if you played video games, there is no way you were getting a lady back then. If that was your front, right? If coming up, you're saying, I'm into Mario, that wasn't going to get you any play.
Halfway through where you're going to run into the Hammer Brothers.
But there's this one time they showed this one guy, this game counselor, and this dude had it all, right? He had the haircut of the 80s, that sweet mullet we all wanted. And to this day, Latinos back me up. Some of your tios still have this haircut on, right? And back then, it was a thing, man. This guy looked like he was a bassist in a some type of rock band. We didn't know what. He had the cool hair. He was dressed, and he played video games. This is who we wanted to be. We wanted this stereotype right here. And it came back then, this guy was the coolest cat. Oh, yeah.
The Super Mario Brothers face each foe undaunted, time and time again. But who are these guys?
A lot of these reports back in the day really focused on kids buying the Nintendo. And there was a lot of parents, right, that would make a lot of noise. But what was always ignored, that there was a big, significant part of the market that was comprised of older players, just like it is today. Now it's more acknowledged, right? But back in the day, it was always, you know, these young kids are getting into Nintendo. But a lot of the larger purchases, a lot of the guys that were buying video games day one were older dudes that were gamers back from the Atari days. And they were really getting into Nintendo because it was just a better product. But that was never reflected, you know, in any of the reporting.
Who are the Mario Brothers?
I don't know. The hockey players?
All I can think of is the guy in the library, Mario Puzi.
They're characters on Nintendo.
Have you ever heard of Nintendo?
No? Who's he?
I think it's something in Japanese.
You know what's messed up and sad about these interviews when we look at them now with my friends is that we used to make fun of people back in the day, right? Whenever they got these people off the street, and you know, they would always pick the dorkier ones, the guys that didn't know anything, you know, older people. And now when we look back and we start looking around, you know, a lot of our friends look like this. So we look like the people that we used to make fun of. That's funny and sad at the same time when you think about it.
Nintendo is something that started in Japan and has taken America by storm. In just 3 years, they've sold more than 11 million hardware units at about $100 each. They've got more gadgets, zappers, and gizmos than you can shake a joystick at, and about 80 different games you can buy to plug into the systems. So far, Nintendo has sold more than 50 million game cartridges. By the end of this year, they hope to have their system in 1 out of every 8 American homes. The game that comes with the hardware purchase is Super Mario Brothers. Mario and Luigi are Nintendo's superstar characters. In the games, they battle their way through a perilous maze of adventure and daring do. Out in the real world, their images adorn everything from sweatshirts to underwear.
Look at all the things that we used to talk about back then, right? This is never going to happen again. This is a phenomenon, once in a lifetime. Especially when Nintendo started going down, nobody thought they would get back up. And look at them now, making more money than ever. Like I've told you before, this is a multimedia company that is just making games right now, and it's barely expanding. You know, the perfect analogy for Nintendo, you know, they follow the old machinist type rule book. You know, you measure twice and cut once. So they take a long time to do things. But when they do something, they will make a mistake now and then. But when they get things right, they really get them right. And that's the secret behind their long-term profitability. all that money that's coming in, it's not coincidence. They're working at it every day, and I believe they're just going to get bigger.
All this is beyond me. I had trouble with Lincoln Logs. Remember Lincoln Logs? I mean, that was it.
You know, and I never wanted to be that guy growing up. I was mindful of that as I was growing up. I never wanted to be that old person that didn't get it. You know, that just said, "Oh, this is too complicated for me." And as you get older, there's things that, you know, are beyond you, right? There's things that you're not going to want to experience. There's things in society now that I want no part of. I'd rather do it old school. I still miss the newspaper, you know, things like that. But I want to keep up with the times. I don't want to be like this guy, but I mean, remember this dude was back in the 90s specifically. We just remembered him for, "I'm doing it live." He was getting all pissed off. But just in general, guys, I think a lot of us, you know, have that fear, not specifically of getting old, but of not understanding the environment that we live in, right? Getting to that point in age where we're just strangers in our own domains. I think that's one of the advantages of the internet that has let us, you know, as gamers, still participate in a lot of games, and it's so varied that you can just still love an old game. You know, whether it's CSGO or, you know, any other old game they used to play back in the Xbox days. You want to play Quake? You can still play it out there. You can even play old Shin Megami Tensei, you know, multiplayers that people have made. The world is so different, but yet there's still things that will be alien to us. You know, like this AI stuff. You know, I'm trying to get a grip for that. How am I going to manage that? Do I incorporate that into a channel? And if I do, how's that going to work? Or I'm going to be like this guy right here going, you know, I was fine with text to speech, right? Speech to text. I don't need any AI. But that's where the future's going. How is it going to affect Nintendo and any other company? I don't know. Intellectual properties, that is the big unknown. And probably, I don't know, 20 years from now, somebody's going to be making a video about what we thought about the Switch and all the changes and how marvel it was and all this other stuff when we were barely getting into AI gaming. Well, guys, time moves on, but life is a movement forward. I wish you the best out there. Take care.
You know how we do.